Hello and welcome back. I'm your host, Kelly Eckhard, and today I have a very special guest. I have Emma Howarth with me. She is the author of A Year of Mystical Thinking. I'm only halfway through, unfortunately. I can't wait to finish it. She has so much information, beautiful tips in here about how to find yourself, connect with yourself again. So thank you so much for being here, Emma. I really appreciate it, especially after Halloween.
Thank you for having me. Yes, it was a bit of a hectic Halloween here with the children.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here chatting to you, so that's nice.
Thank you. So first, start off with introduce yourself, give us a bit of your background, and then we'll move into your spiritual journey and how you are where you are now.
Okay, so, well, my name's Emma Howarth, as already mentioned. I'm a writer and editor, worked in publishing, in travel guides and magazines for a long time, or since I left university, basically. And I mean, I've also always had this interest in the spiritual, witchy side of life, I guess. And yeah, my book, A Year of Mystical Thinking, came out of basically, I had a really terrible, difficult year in 2017. We've all had them, we've all been there. And somehow during this kind of big descent into some sort of strange rock bottom where I found myself, as part of that, I found myself in my basement looking through boxes of unpacked stuff from a house move. And I found my old tarot cards, and it was a deck that I'd actually been given by my friends when I was 14 years old. And they'd just been like sort of undiscovered in this box for probably a decade. I probably hadn't really looked at them, didn't even realize they're in there. I'd probably moved them from one house to another. And so while I was in this really low, burnt out, anxious, stressed hole, basically in my basement, which couldn't have been more kind of perfect a place to be. Like kind of, really like represented how I felt. I found these tarot cards, and it really just reminded me of that side of myself. And I just decided there and then that I would try to make my life better, try to make my life feel magical again. By discovering or rediscovering a different mystical or spiritual practice every month for a year. And then I just did that project to try and make myself feel better, really. And because I'm a writer, I ended up writing a few blog posts, setting up an Instagram. And that's what became the book.
Amazing.
Led me into all sorts of lovely things as a result. I've been running like new and full moon rituals locally. I write the horoscope column for Glamour magazine here in the UK. It's really like opened up a magical world, really.
And so, like with the horoscopes, for instance, did you study this? Is this something, I mean, I know that you messed up with this when you were younger, and then you're rediscovering your spirituality, your spiritual side. How did you know that you were good at this? Or?
Well, I suppose the one thing that I've always known is that, this sounds big-headed, but I feel like I've been doing it long enough to be able to say it. I know that I'm a really good writer. Like, you know, people say you've got like a soul gift. Like, that's my gift. And it's almost like, this will probably also sound strange, but even before I was into anything mystical or spiritual, I've never really known what I was going to type until my fingers hit the keyboard. It's like it's kind of channeled through me. And I've always been super intuitive. I know things somehow. This is the same for a lot of people. I'm not special. It's just I know things about people without having to ask. And, the actual sort of practical side of astrology, I mean, that's kind of like been a lifelong study for me. So, I started when I was a teenager, just sort of got my birth chart done, started to understand it. And, obviously the more time has passed, I'm just constantly reading books. I'm very much self-taught. I'm not professing to be a world expert or to know everything. I think one of the most magical things about astrology is there's always something new to learn or to dive into more deeply. But what I really can do is I can, look at all transits, the planets, everything that's going on in the sky, and I can do that thing through my fingers that somehow
Amazing. That's
magically
awesome.
connects with people. And that's my thing,
Yeah.
writing. Basically, all I've ever done is be a writer, and even everything I do now is pretty connected to writing. So even when I do a full or new moon ritual, that's like a, you know, an hour-long guided meditation that I've written. You know, it's,
Yeah.
you know, my own work.
That's amazing, though, that you have discovered spirituality, like you said, through your gift, which is not big-headed to say. We all have certain gifts. Some of us just need a bit more time to find out what that is, right? It's everyone has it somewhere. It's whether or not you're taking the time to, you know, profess it to the world or profess it to yourself, really, isn't it? Because
yeah, and it's a real privilege to be able to be a writer, obviously. Like, you know, I'm living in an amazing world where it worked out for me, and that's my job. That there are lots of people out there who are amazing writers who, because of circumstances or life or, you know, where they're living, can't just go, I want to be a writer. You know, I'm one of the lucky ones.
Do you think, though, that because you're so open and you listen to your spirit guides and you kind of been guided this way, that's why you're also quite successful with it? Because you're not putting any blocks in front of you. You're quite open. And then when you're open, so much magic can happen, right? So much mystical things can happen. Do you think that's part of it? Or, I mean, you're also just a good writer. Let's just put it down to that. You have to have talent, right?
I think I am, you know, I'm very open-minded, and I'm a big believer that, you know, every single person you meet has something to teach you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm just sort of really, I'm open to the world around me, like sometimes to my own detriment. I mean, I'm a bit of a like, oh, I'll give it a go. But yeah, you know, I definitely think the more open you are, that's one thing I really learned during my, you know, the original mystical year that led to the book, was almost the more open-minded you are, and really specifically, the more space you create in your life, the more room there is for the magical stuff to find you. And I think sometimes in our modern lives are so busy and hectic, and no one really has time to stop and think. And if you can just slow down enough, or just connect to the natural world or the moon or something enough to take that pause, it's amazing what can happen. It really is. And I think, you know, you don't need lots of money or lots of time or to disappear off on a one-way ticket to Bali to achieve that either, which I think is really important to say. It doesn't have to be like it looks on Instagram. It can just be how it looks for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really important point that you put in the book, actually, because so many times people associate spirituality with, I've got to go to a big retreat, I've got to do this yoga thing. And, you know, I'm constantly preaching, no. You've got to find what works with you locally, because you know, that's where the magic really happens, right? It's not, it does, it can happen in Bali, absolutely, but
you want it to happen in Bali. I'd be there now if I could be.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that's one of the most important things is even just sometimes, you know, like a moon ritual, you can look on Instagram and it looks like it has to involve like 4,000 candles and a ritual bath scattered with rose petals. And not everybody has the time, the resources, the ability to do that. But I think everybody probably does have time to make a connection to a, you know, a full moon or a new moon if they want to, if that resonates with them.
Yeah.
And the same with lots of things. I think there's a whole chapter in my book on everyday magic, just turning things that you do anyway into magical rituals, because that's a really easy way to add magic to your life, by just, you know, you drink lots of tea anyway, just every time you have a cup of tea, take a bit more time over it, stir some intentions into it. Really easy ways of making life feel magical. That's kind of what I'm all about, really, not trying to make it like, here's your shopping list of all the things you have to buy in order to be a perfect witchy magical spiritual person. Just want to make it something that anyone can do and anyone can have.
Exactly. I did. I took the whole tea thing. I'm like, oh God, I drink tea and coffee all day long. That is such a good way to, in the morning. Okay, going to set an intention. How do I want to feel today? And, and you drink that, like you said, oh, this coffee tastes really good. Oh, I feel like I don't know, in Mexico, or feel like this. It's like, oh, and you do, and it transforms, it takes you to that place, right? For just that second. And then all of a sudden you feel like, ooh, like off floating glittery inside. It's really nice.
Which is nice. And that's what, that's what we all need a little bit more of, isn't it? Just a bit more of feeling like that, and a bit less of the like, right, I've got to down this and go there. And
now, is because each month you tried something new and you are incorporating new aspects of spirituality and mystical thinking into your everyday life, were there a few things that really resonated with you that you're like, yes, it made so much sense? Did all of these things really resonate with you? Or were there a few that kind of, you're like, yeah, that was cool, I'm glad I experienced that, but maybe not for me?
I mean, I generally loved all of it, really. Sort of for the first question, like the moon definitely was my, like, I'd connected to the moon before, obviously, I'd been making wishes on crescent moons for years, but I really got into that sort of cycle of the moon, the phases, and connecting to the ebb and flow, and like, really understanding that, fresh start at the new moon, and then, as it waxes, that's the energy building and release / manifest at the full moon, and then the waning phase. And I really loved that sort of cycle, and how having that every month, like, you can get really sucked into this idea of New Year's resolutions. January, it's your one chance, but I love the idea of actually there's, fresh chance every month. And that really connected with me during the year. And I'd say that's something that I feel like everybody should understand. You don't always have to be full and glowing. You don't have to be the full moon. You can be the waning moon, retreating a little bit more. So that was one that I really felt like, okay, this is going to stay with me forever now. Ones that I've sort of connected to a bit less, I'm trying to think if they're really,
I mean, not saying that there are any, but you know how some people, something resonates more, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. And that's a point I make throughout it, is like, not every practice is for everyone. I definitely sort of struggled with, I had lots of questions in my mind. So because I'm a journalist, I think I'm really questioning. But there were aspects of certain practices I found difficult. So when I started like exploring crystals in more detail, I really struggled with the idea that this amazing high vibe, beautiful stone has been pulled out of the earth by who, I'm not really sure. And under what circumstances, is it ethical, is it right, like, who is anyone suffering for me to have this stone? Things like that I found interesting and challenging during the year. I asked myself a lot of questions, like, it's also about sort of manifestation practices. Like, I felt like a lot of the information out there on the idea of manifestation, which, by the way, I love. I mean, it's so much more fun than New Year's resolutions or 5-year plans. But I felt like a lot of them missed out the concept of privilege. And like, it's a lot easier to manifest yourself like a plane ticket to Australia if you're already starting from a place of privilege. That I found, so that's probably more so than there being practices that didn't resonate so much with me. There was some that I found challenging, if that makes sense, because I found myself asking a lot of questions and really questioning myself and the role I have to play in maybe even promoting some of that stuff.
Yeah, that was a really important point. I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it, about cultural appropriation and how you have to really respect where this ritual is coming from and why you're doing it. And when you're going into this ritual, do it with such pure intention, because this was part of, an Indian tribe's, lifestyle. This is what they did. Or, I mean, and a lot of times it's put on Instagram, like, oh, we're going to give it a go. We don't have any kind of background thought to where it's come from. And that really kind of hit me quite hard. Like, oh, I need to have so much respect for this ritual and this ceremony.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a really big learning process for me throughout the book as well, because I knew what cultural appropriation was, but I hadn't really thought about it in context with those sorts of practices. And then suddenly, you know, I was at a spirit animal workshop, and the person who was running it happened to mention cultural appropriation, and my mind was like, oh my God, cultural appropriation, why haven't I thought about this?
Yeah.
And which is nice, you know, I'm 3 years on from the year where I was experiencing all that stuff that led to the book. And I think I'm just really careful now. And it's actually really possible to choose and connect with practices that are more aligned with your own personal heritage. You know, I'm British, like there's a whole world of it out there. You don't need to look very far to find amazing ancient practices to connect with that are, you know, part of my culture. So I try to focus more on that now.
Nice. Yeah, I did a spirit guide session with Tamara last night. Yeah, it was really
she's amazing, isn't she?
She's super amazing. It's interesting because I've been following her for a long time as well, and you mentioned her in the book, and Mama Moon candles and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I know my spirit guide, and it came to me through a completely random thing that I did, but I was quite interested to see if he would be the same, or if he came back, or if I was making this up. And I was like, oh, there he is again. Like, woo. But it's quite nice, you know, because I have a lot of friends that are in this awakening period of their life, they're wanting to take a step closer to this mystical thinking, but they're quite nervous and scared about it because it's the unknown, right? Do you have tips for people that want to start going in, but they're nervous of this spiritual realm or spirit guides?
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. I had a friend once, I offered to read her tarot cards, and she practically like backed away from me, like, no. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of misinformation out there. And, you know, a lot of that Halloween stuff that we all did yesterday, this idea that someone who considers himself to be a witch is, you know, scary and bad. Because witches are good, as we know.
Exactly.
So I mean, I really genuinely, I'm not just saying this to plug my book, I wrote my book for those people. So I would say, you know, read the book, because that's what I really wanted to show through the book, which was that you know, anyone can connect to this, anyone can have this magical aspect to their life if they want it. It doesn't have to cost a lot, it doesn't have to take loads of time. So definitely that. And then I think just sort of see what works for you, because not everything is for everyone. Not everyone, you know, not everyone's interested in angels or oracle cards or yoga, or, you know, but most people are interested in something.
Exactly. It is about finding what works for you, because I'm basically where you were at 3 years ago. I'm kind of there, like finding out what works for me. And sometimes your head can get so clouded, but I want to try this, and I want to try this, and I want to do this and this. It's like, slow down.
That was me. I was like, now I've got a mystical to-do list. I was meant to be chilling out more. But you know, that's sort of the magic of it as well, because, you know, you get really excited about it and you want to try everything. And that was me in the first like 3 or 4 chapters of my book. I'm just like trying everything, like.
And how did you calm it down then? Because I know that you mentioned you kind of just let things guide you. Was that the process eventually? Just things just started appearing? You're like, oh, I guess I should try that now? Or how did it work for you?
That really happens. I mean, it's amazing how quickly that will happen. So, you know, I moved from Bristol, which is quite a hippie city in the UK in the southwest, which I really loved, to a slightly more suburban, just outside London town in the southeast of England, like quite a commutery kind of town. When I moved, I was like, well, there's no one like me here. Everyone here is very boring. And there were loads of people like me here. I mean, literally, like as soon as I started connecting with that side of myself and reaching out a little bit. So, you know, you meet one person, they introduce you to someone else.
Yeah.
It comes, you know, and suddenly the next thing you know, you're on Eventbrite and, you know, there's a spirit guide session or a sound bath just down the road from you, and it all comes to you eventually. It's really interesting how that happens, actually.
And I think too, like-minded people gather, right? Or they want to gather.
Yeah.
So, and especially in this kind of realm, because not everyone's open to it, but if you're open to it, you flock together because you're so excited about going on this spiritual journey together.
Yeah.
Even though everyone's is completely individual, it's nice when, you know, I have a few friends WhatsApp, oh, did you try this? Oh, how was it for you? Or you should go try this. I think it's going to really help you out. And, you know, today, and it's nice to be able to have that community.
Yeah, definitely. I think the community is actually one of the most important parts of it, because you can do a lot of these things on your own, you know, in a little bubble or a vacuum or however you want to do it. But actually you know, as human beings, we're all looking for connection. And that's one of the you know, that's why I actually started running events locally, because I just thought what people really need is to like meet other people who are interested in this, in similar practices. So the community and connection, and you can get a lot of that online, you know, if you live in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing, especially since the pandemic, really. I think that's really opened up this world of, you know, you did a spirit guide workshop last night with Tamara online. Lots of, you know, there's lots of stuff that's really opened up, which I think is fantastic. I just think the more access people have to these things, the better, really.
Completely. Yeah, like you said, it's community, isn't it? I went to this, I'm starting to dance again, but it's called 5 Rhythms, and it's more about an emotional wave and how getting out of your head and into your body, and how it's really nice to be able to physically go to a group and feed off of each other's frequencies and energies, because this is exactly what we need now, right? Is this connection again, and how a lot of us have to go inward and connect with ourselves again in order to connect with other people, because we've lost that connection, I found, physically.
Yeah, that's really true, I think. Yeah, I think, yeah, and that's another thing. I think there's a big part of the November chapter mentions that, you know, that's sort of the whole kind of going within and doing all your inner work. And then, you know, paying that forward a little bit. So not just the community and the connection, which is super important, but also, you know, reaching out to other people, making the world a better place. That's all a spiritual practice as well, just as much as anything. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything you do on your own in your bedroom, you know.
Yeah. And how, oh, sorry, I just interrupted you. Apologies.
Sometimes
there's a little bit of a delay here. Does your partner, is he spiritual as well? Or is he just let you he just stands on the side?
I think he would laugh if I sat here going, yeah, he's really spiritual. He's very open-minded and he's very interested. So he, you know, he's perfectly willing to go to a sound bath or a yoga class, but he's a doctor. He's a scientist. You know, he's a bit like, yeah, that's nice, but it's rubbish. But yeah, one of the funniest things that happened in the book actually was when I'd really got back into astrology again. I was like, you know, I'd remembered everything about it, that I'd learned about it in the past, and I was reading loads of books. And we were on holiday in Greece with one of my husband's best friends, who's like an astrophysicist, who literally is like bursting my bubble every 3 seconds, like, that's not possible, that's not true. That's not true. Okay. Yeah, don't go on holiday with an astrophysicist.
No.
That's my advice.
That's amazing. Yeah, I always find it interesting for, you have one in a relationship that's super deep into it, and the other one, I mean, my husband is curious. I mean, I'm just now getting him into human design. Some people are into human design, some people are not into human design. And he likes things that he feels like you could build that makes sense. Like there could be some kind of proof. And with the astrology and the spirit guide, when he's like, so how was your session? I was like, oh, it was really good. And I was talking about my spirit guide. He's like, okay, I guess that would make sense. I was like, oh, wow, you're quite open-minded about this tonight. Cool. Because part of me is like, do I hold back or do I just completely tell him everything? And I find it interesting, because some people are super open to it. Some partners and others are like, she's on her crazy little thing over there. It's fine. She's happy. So I'm happy.
I think it rubs off a little bit though.
It does.
Just even really simple things. So like the autumn equinox.
Yeah.
We, went outside and like made a little fire, and the kids were hanging around, and little things like that, like connecting to those sort of little small gestures, I think can really go a long way. And I think it slowly it does work its way through. And my husband is definitely like, he's ready for the winter solstice.
Nice. Oh yes, it's on his calendar written really big. It's like winter solstice.
So winter solstice, we'll do that. We'll do something for that.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, I think it like you said, it does rub off, doesn't it? Because if you have higher frequency, higher energy, better aura, they also benefit from that, right? And
definitely.
They feel that
knock-on effect. I think there's a study somewhere where, like, I can't remember the details of it, so I probably shouldn't really have mentioned it, but where everyone, the more people who meditated in a town, the knock-on effect, more everyone was calmer.
But it makes sense, right? Because if you, let's say, go to Starbucks and you smile at the person behind the counter, and then they smile, and then the other person smiles, it's already giving you this really nice feeling, instead of yelling at the person at Starbucks and they're going to be all nervous for the next person. That's already a negative effect, right? So it does make sense how little things we do we can tweak things.
All the small practices add up to something bigger. Small steps turn into a big step.
Yeah, exactly. And are your kids pretty open to it? Have you had their birth charts read? Have you had all that things for them?
Yes, kids are just natural believers. I didn't even have to try. Like when I first when I got my Reiki level 1 certificate and I came home and told them what I'd been doing, they were both like, oh, we can already do that. Let me show you.
That's so amazing.
We can do that. We don't need to go on a course. Just stuff like that. They're just sort of, I think just magic and fairies and unicorns are as real as bedtime and broccoli to small children. So they just, they have crystals in their pockets and they love making vision boards, and they just love it. Yeah.
What happens? Why do we lose that? And then we have to rediscover it again when we're older.
I don't know. It's such a shame. It's like, so almost to me, the sort of best bit of being alive.
Yeah.
In this magical, beautiful world that we live in. And we just like, don't know, go and sit in offices and go on the tube by Starbucks, like when we could be doing other stuff that's
exactly
more interesting.
I mean that's the thing. I guess my husband, always makes a point. He's like, well, you get to take this time and discover yourself. So yes, it is very much a privilege. I unfortunately have to go to an office and sit because I'm the one that makes money in the family. But I said, I understand this, but it's also about incorporating, even though you have to go to the office, those small things every day, connecting with nature, of when you go and have to walk to the tube, to notice your surroundings, or to do an affirmation, or to have a 5-minute meditation when you're going. I understand people have to do what they have to do to survive, but like you said before, it's the small things that can really help and guide you to have a better spiritual practice. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's really the key.
Yeah,
for everyone. I'm very, very aware that people's circumstances vary hugely, and if you are working really long hours, or you have really young children, you have like a baby who's not sleeping, there are lots of different circumstances that could make it challenging to but I feel like there are always a few small ones you can take and build upon, which is the true magic of it.
Exactly.
Really.
And do you have any rituals that you do each day that you still keep doing?
Yes. I can't I'm very into the imperfection thing. I mean, I can't sit here and try to claim that I meditate every single day, or that I practice yoga every single day. I do both those things very regularly, but not on a daily basis. One thing I have been doing recently is morning pages, which isn't something that's in my book, but I'm already thinking about the second one.
Nice.
And that's a practice, created by the amazing Julia Cameron, and her book is called The Artist's Way.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It is brilliant, and I read it a 15 years ago, probably, I don't know, like a really long time ago. And I used to always do the morning pages, and really, really find that helpful creatively. And I've started doing it again, and I'm into it again, really. But I kind of wish I'd chosen a book with slightly smaller pages. So I chose like A4. I'm like, I think the wise person would have chosen A5.
Yeah, I have an A5.
You have to write 3 pages a day, don't you? And I'm like, I'm not sure even I've got a lot of words in me, but I'm not sure I've got 3 pages of A4. So I might have to downgrade my book. But I'm really loving that. That's become a regular practice for me at the moment. And, just all the everyday magic things, like all the stirring the tea. I can't have a bath really without, staying in it till the bad vibes have gone down the plug hole.
Nice.
Like I like all of that stuff. I do yoga several times a week. That's, a really big thing for me. I've been practicing yoga since I was 18. So that's
nice.
Something I love. It's all about finding things you love, really, to actually make a difference.
That's the thing, right? It's about also, one, not taking yourself too seriously. So if you can't do it one day, it's okay, exactly. Right?
That whole idea of you've blown it, like,
it doesn't exist. And I think, and it's the stillness to allowing yourself for morning pages, even if you write a few sentences just to get those thoughts out, you're allowing that stillness, that moment of, okay, I'm setting intention, I'm starting my day, I'm getting all the bad vibes out of here onto paper. And
I definitely want everybody to get rid of the idea of it trying to be perfect, or looking perfect, or perfect yoga poses with a sunset backdrop. I mean, I just want to remove them.
Should just start posting yoga poses like the wrong way. Like, this is imperfection right here. This is how it actually looks for most of us. I'd be the worst example of showing someone how to do the right yoga pose. Definitely. Even though I love it, but one last question for you before I let you go. So podcast is the future edit, going inward, doing the work now for a happier and healthier future you. I understand we're all supposed to be in the moment and really enjoy the moment now, but we also set intentions and have goals and all those things. What do you see for yourself in the future?
Well, one thing I'm really thinking about at the moment is I would love to write a second book.
Super.
So that's my big sort of personal or career goal, because I absolutely loved the entire process of writing my first one, and it's so different to journalism. It's such a, it's almost like a magical process, because it takes such a long time. And there are so many stages, and eventually finally you stop tinkering with it and you let it go, and that's quite magical as well. So I've got loads of ideas for a second book. That's definitely something that I would love to be in my future. I've got lots of events planned, and amazing, all sorts of exciting, guest editor slots and stuff. So that's all that. And then I think I would just want to travel again. Like, that's like, that's something I really feel like I've been missing out on a little bit. I mean, I have been traveling every time we've been allowed to, but yeah, I just want to show my children more of the world, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have a place that you can't wait to tick off your list?
I haven't actually been to Bali.
It's nice.
So yeah, that's definitely, I sort of make a lot of references to that whole kind of eat, pray, love thing in the book. In fact, one of the early reviewers of my book described it as eat, pray, love the rest of us, which I quite like.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I know, it was so amazing. I was like, oh, that's the best quote ever.
It is.
But yeah, no, I haven't actually been to Bali myself. So I'm very like, yeah, good things happen in Bali, but I haven't been there yet. So I'd love to go there. I'd love to go back. I've got lots of friends from my hometown in Yorkshire who happen to have ended up living in Australia. So I like to go back to Australia. I love Byron Bay. I love that whole vibe there. I'd love to take my children there.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to go everywhere. I want to go to India.
Yeah, me too. Never been. Really
Yeah,
nice.
I love Mexico. That's one of my favorite places. Just want to go everywhere. Is that a good answer?
That is a really good answer. I second that.
Yeah, let's go everywhere. Let's get on.
It's like, yes, I can't wait. Now, for those that have not read your book yet, where can they order it?
So it is. It's available everywhere. I think it's available in the UK, America, Australia, Europe. You can buy it on Amazon if you want to, but not all of us have good feelings about that.
Yeah.
But it's also available. Probably the easiest way is just to go to my Instagram,
Website.
and there's links on there.
Okay.
Yeah, and also on my website, I've got a whole page of all the different, the independent bookstore links, all of those kind of things. So yeah.
And then on your website, do you have your events listed as well? So if someone locally would like to join, they can.
Do you know what? I'm a little bit behind on the whole website thing. I actually need to redo my entire website, but
so is Instagram best then?
Instagram is best.
Super, no problem.
But yeah, that's a really good reminder that I should update my website. But yeah, I've got some nice stuff coming up with different places and different people. So, and I'm hoping to do more of that.
Brilliant.
From January. So I'm still in a bit of a post book launch,
of course,
slightly recovering phase.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want to get people together again starting from next year. So I'm starting to plan that all out now.
Brilliant. Ooh, we're looking forward to next year then, especially for all of those that are local back in the UK. Go for me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll do some online stuff as well. So I've done some really successful, lovely online rituals that have been
great.
Lovely. So it's nice to do that as well.
Yeah, well, looking forward to it then. Well, thank you so much for being here today and taking the time out, and happy November 1st. And
I can't believe it's November. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure.